When I say continuous improvement, that's because we're shooting for excellence. We never quite attain it, and we get really close. We redefine what excellence is, and we step it up one more time.
Hello, Mr. Executive Chairman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you for joining. Thank you for getting dressed up on your Sunday night. I'm really excited to have you on, not only because you are a member of Sow Good, but because you have such an interesting story and you've done so much. And I feel like I've learned a lot from you through business, and I'm excited for you to share your stories with everyone else.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Lexi.
So where are you from?
I grew up in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Lived there through basically 20 years old. And I lived in
Probably
few
a different
other
New
places.
York than I know now.
It's a very different New York.
Where in the New York area?
I grew up in Queens, a place called Bayside, a little earlier than that, Flushing. But Bayside, Queens was most of my youth.
Mm.
It was fun. It was a great place, a lot of friends, very different than it is today. The danger wasn't in the streets like it is today. But it's a very nice place. I love New York.
When did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I don't think there was a word for entrepreneur when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it existed. If it did, I didn't know it. But from a very young age, I wanted to work for myself and build things, whether it was through construction or at a very, very young age. At 11 years old, I was delivering newspapers. I know that because I was delivering papers when we landed on the moon, and had all these papers. We landed on the moon.
That's so cool.
That gives me a year, so that's how I know specifically what year I was delivering them.
I never knew that. That's so cool. So let me back up a second because I forget that people don't know you like I know you. And so it makes sense when you say you wanted to work for yourself, because for people who don't know Ira, he is someone who I can't imagine working for someone else. I can imagine like a 7-year-old you starting your own hustles in school and whatnot. Where were you in school?
Where did I go to school?
Yeah.
I started off in Flushing. Then I went to Bayside High School. Then I went to a private school in New York called Rhodes Private School. And from there I went to Queensborough Community College. Mm-hmm. From there I went to FIT. And from FIT I went to Civic School of Design.
What do you do there?
I learned how to design clothing, but really what I ended up learning how to do was architecture, because through designing you have to do things in a very specific way, and it taught me how to draw blueprints, as you know I do all the time.
Yes.
So it was by accident I learned it, but it helped a great deal.
What were you like in school as a young kid?
I was a perfect student. It was a different day and time. Lexi knows a lot about it, and some I would be willing to share, and some I'm probably not going to share. But I did very well on tests.
What was your best subject in school when you were younger?
At a very young age, I tested very, very high in all of mathematics. Probably by the time I was 10, I was at college level math.
Yeah, it's the opposite of me.
Yeah, I also don't write as well as you do, or not even close.
I probably have hours of footage of Ava and Ira teaching me like fractions, ratios.
But no, it helped a great deal, and it helped in business a lot, and it also helped in extracurricular activities such as poker or something of that nature, because odds are very important.
Being really good at math when you were younger, did that help you? Did that help guide what you would seek as a career later on?
No, I think it just helped me when it came to buying and negotiating and understanding the value of things, knowing that if I bought one at this price and 25 at another price, its value meant a lot, and you'd have to know basically the run rate of the sale or the velocity of the sale. So if you know you're going to sell it in X amount of time, the value of the money when you pay for it versus when you're going to receive your money from the sale of the goods matters a lot, and all that comes into the equations.
And that was your thought process at a very young age.
Believe it or not, it was, but without the same vocabulary, but that's how you figured it
It's
out.
the mentality that you had.
That's the way I figured it out, yes, the mentality.
Did you know what you wanted to be when you were younger?
I wanted to be a retailer at first. I met some very influential people when I was younger, and they had 50 stores, 300 stores, or 3,000 stores. And that to me was something very intriguing, how you can do all the equations and figure out what every store needs, even if they were in different areas, and how you could build so many stores and help so many people and do so much for so many. It was really something pretty exciting to me. My thoughts had changed thereafter, but that is what I wanted to do when I was younger.
What were your greatest influences when you were younger?
I would say by far my father was my greatest influence. He had a way of looking at life that was very special. Went through a lot, but he looked at life in a very positive way, and he looked at people in a very positive way. So my father was a very interesting person. And I know we'll go into this a little deeper further on, but he was in the Holocaust. He grew up very poor. He went from a work camp to a ghetto to another work camp, and then he escaped. And after he escaped, there's a very long story and a book about his escape and where he lived in the woods and how he prospered thereafter. The name of the book is Maybe You Will Survive, but these are the stories I grew up with in my life. And his philosophy was always to help people. Even when he was in the Holocaust, he did so much for so many people. Growing up, his friends would always, grab me, from very young age, 5, 6, 7, to, even when I was an adult. You know what your father did for me? If it wasn't for this bar of soap he gave me, I wouldn't have survived the Holocaust. If it wasn't for this bread he gave me, I was starving at the time, and he got me a half a slice of bread, and it gave me a little bit of hope at the time. He always found a way to survive during the Holocaust where other people had much more difficult time. And this is like in a ghetto or even in a concentration camp. So that philosophy stuck with me, that survival instinct and that helping other people. And that's the core of who I am and who I think my wife is, which is really interesting. We met each other and we have a very similar mentality.
The community that you grew up with your dad,
And
your
my
mom.
mother. My mother taught me so much, taught me so much about humility, taught me it's really amazing when times are very, very tough. Everybody has those days. You wake up and you wish you never got out of bed, one after the other. Everything goes wrong. Mother was like, calm down, look at your world, see what it's like. It's really very good. You're going to eat well tonight. Everything's going to be okay in the morning. I know you're in the middle of a tough day and you almost don't want to hear it, but then this calm logic comes through. And every time things were really tough, I heard this calm logic like, don't worry, it's going to be okay. What's really that bad? I know it seems that way, but it will come back together tomorrow. You'll figure it out. And it's not the specifics of anybody's life. It's the fact that everybody has those days. And it's not the fun part, but it makes the good days so much better.
How young were you when you started learning about the Holocaust from your parents? Did they wait to introduce that world to you, or it's kind of like inevitable? Their entire community.
I think I knew about it at 3, 4, 5 years old, that I just kept on knowing more and more, and I could never get enough. When my father escaped, he escaped with a brother, my Uncle Abe. And I heard the stories from my father and my uncle, sometimes together, sometimes separate, and I just could never get enough. It was better than any book or any movie or anything of that nature. And then when their friends came over, every one of them had a different story, and if I could, I tried to grab them and let them tell me their story. And each one had quite a story there of their own survival and how they did and how they made it through.
It took a long time for survivors to be able to tell their stories from the Holocaust, but I feel like with your parents' community, they spoke about it.
I think there's two sets of people, some that did not want to speak and some that really wanted their family to learn from what happened to them in the Holocaust. My uncle Jack, who also survived, he fled to Russia just before the Germans invaded Poland, and he was taken as a spy. He was in a gulag in Russia, and then he got out and came to this country. Story was a little bit different, but also he had quite a story himself. He worked really hard when he came to this country, again, the country of opportunity, and he did extremely well, and it was nice. My uncles, my cousins, and then every one of their friends, and the community was so large. It wasn't a community of, most people today have 3, 4, 5 friends over for dinner, 5 couples, you got 10 people, wow. And there could be 20, 30 couples at a time with my parents, and it wasn't unusual. Every weekend there was 6 to 12 couples at somebody's house, one of the group's house. And then there was always new people, and somebody else came in from what they called the old country, somebody that came in from Israel after the war, somebody that was still in Germany and came over. But a lot of them started in my father's town. And they called it the society, where if somebody came in and they didn't have any money, the people from Białystok, which was the town my father was from.
In Poland.
In Poland would take care of the person, help them with rent for a little while, try to find them a job, make sure their family was fed. And I know a lot of the people that came in. I remember when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and they'd come in. I had no idea who they were, and they didn't speak English yet. And those same people all did pretty well. And I ended up friends with their kids, and they all did very well. Obviously, it's not everybody, but it was very interesting, the mentality that came with it. And really, it was, again, I'm saying it quite often, but it was a land of opportunity where they can come here as long as they're willing to work hard and put what it takes. They did all right.
This is a side note, but hearing you say that you would get all of their stories, you're such a good storyteller that must be where it's from. From a young age, you heard so many stories. And you're a particularly good storyteller, coming from a person who's terrible at telling stories.
I don't know about that. I think you're real good, but thank you for the compliment.
Yeah. And you also spoke Yiddish when you were younger.
I never spoke Yiddish. My parents used to speak to me in Yiddish when my friends were around. And,
you
tell me, don't do this, you'll get in trouble if you do it. All these things I wasn't allowed
all
to
the
do.
Negative
but they would say it in Yiddish, so I understood them, and I'd say, okay, no problem. And I'd answer in English. So I understood fluently, but I couldn't speak. Mm-hmm. As, I guess 15 or so, I learned how to speak a little bit when I went to Israel. Even though everybody speaks Hebrew in Israel, all of their friends, all of the survivors spoke Yiddish. It was the language of the concentration camps. It was a German derivative language, and it helped. It's how I got through in Israel with their friends who didn't speak English.
Was business the main trade of survivors in your community, or did their occupations differ a lot?
I think everyone, and I'm quickly thinking about it, good question, Lex, thinking real hard. I don't know anybody that was, that turned out to be a lawyer or a doctor. They wanted their kids to be lawyers or doctors, but they came here in their 30s with 6th grade education or 3rd grade education. So doctors and lawyers were not what they were going to be. And a lot of them started with manual labor, whatever they had to do, and they found a way to own a hot dog stand that turned into a restaurant, or own a little laundromat that turned into a chain of laundromats, or, they all just worked real hard. And the one thing all of the children, the children of the Holocaust, all my friends, all my parents' friends, kids who I knew, they didn't see their parents a lot. They didn't see their fathers a lot. Their mothers were mixed. Some worked, some did not. But their fathers got up at 5 or 6 in the morning, left for work, got home at 7 or 8 at night, and they worked a 6-day week. And Sunday they really were wrecked, tired, and they stayed home. So it wasn't like they saw their parents all the time. They were setting up a life for the next generation.
Your dad also, I'm thinking back to his stories. He did so many different types of businesses.
Very early, he came here. He invested every penny he had from Israel, because he had a farm in Israel, and he invested it in a laundromat.
Yeah.
He lost it immediately.
Yeah.
Realized it wasn't going to work out. Then he worked real hard, and he went to a leather factory. And that leather factory was leather coats.
Well, when he was younger, he was an apprentice for leather shoe making.
Yeah, we're talking about, think about
He's
this.
like 11.
A 9, 10, 11-year-old kid
Yeah.
being an apprentice, and they're working basically for food because they were very, very poor in Poland.
So that entrepreneurial spirit is something that you picked up on very young from both your father and from those around you.
I think so. I think that's what I saw, and that's what I understood.
And how old are you? Was G3? When did G3 start?
Well, my father met somebody who had a leather factory. His brother introduced him to somebody. Let me explain how big this factory was. There were 2 people working there, and this one person who needed help, who needed a partner. He knew how to sew, and my father knew how to cut. So my father went to meet him. It was a brother-in-law of my uncle, excuse me. And when he met him, he agreed to be his partner. And most of it was sweat equity. He really didn't have anything. And the company is called G&N Sportswear, for Goldfarb and Novak Sportswear. And he built that business all the way about 1971, 2, 3, right around there. And my father decided to make it his and his 2 sons. That's why he named it G3, my father, my brother, and myself. Little did he know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur myself and go into my own business and make my own mark on this world. But he gave me every opportunity in the world to go there and work with him.
And when you were younger, didn't your dad test you when you'd like go into a restaurant or something and he'd say, how many people are here?
Yes.
How many floors is that building?
Yes. My father wanted me always to know my surroundings. To survive in the Holocaust, you always needed to know your surroundings. So I remember being in a restaurant, not looking, I'm facing a wall or something, and say, okay, how many people are here? And I was like, oh man, I didn't even think, and I just had to pick up all my senses, and I gave him a good guess. I don't know. After a few years, I guess, I was accurate to within 1 or 2 people usually. How many seats are in a restaurant, or how many seats are in a movie theater, or I always knew it right away. I was quick calculation, looked around, knew what it was, and it just taught me to be aware of my surroundings. I don't know what it did exactly, but it's a good thing. It was always
You have very
positive.
good spatial reasoning. Like Ira can just walk into a room and say, oh, it's this many feet. And I'm like, I can't even conceptualize how many feet that is. And the blueprints for our facilities, you can make 3D structures and it just looks like an exact replica of the building.
That came from when I think it came from when I went to that school for design. Even though it was clothing, you do learn how to do architectural design. build a model of what a factory should look like. And we do, what ended up happening is my father was a manufacturer, is he always wanted to be better at what in, as a manufacturer, be the best he could be. But the tools and the reasoning was a little different then than it is today. From where he went, I took it to another level. I believe in continuous improvement. You can always be better. And that's basically our motto in the building and how we live life. We can get it to one level, and what was excellent today might not be excellent tomorrow. I think we can get it further. We can take it further. So when I say continuous improvement, that's because we're shooting for excellence. We never quite attain it, and we get really close. We redefine what excellence is, and we step it up one more time. So that helped a great deal. And you were asking about my father and the factory. It's sort of, you figure out how long something takes within, you can break it down into tenths of a second. You want to make sure you don't waste tenths of a second. You don't waste a step. You don't waste that. You'll laugh.
Is that something that you learned from your dad? Or just being around the factory?
I think he did it naturally.
And you just picked up on it?
And then I picked up on it. And
how much things did he explicitly say to you? Like, son, this is a lesson you must learn. And
None.
How much you just yeah, I think you
sorry.
just, no, none. He didn't speak to me.
He didn't say I must learn it. Just,
no,
I
think he led by example for you. I think you just picked up on a lot of things he did. And seeing him around his friends and around his employees, I think you just picked up a lot naturally.
Life was different then. I mean, It wasn't, this is what you must learn. This is what you can't do.
Yeah.
What you can do is a little different. What you can't do, and the can'ts teach you the cans. And the cans are, I formalized in manufacturing what he knew naturally, and what I think how he ran a factory. Then I just took it to FIT, helped me with motion and time study. Civic school design helped me with architecture and laying out, a factory and making sure there wasn't one wasted step, so on and so forth. And then learning taught me everything's got a place, everything has to be in its place, and everything very specific. For somebody who's ADHD, it's very difficult to have everything perfect. But that's what we shoot for daily, and it really is. It's exciting. As you see it coming together, there's a beauty to it, and there absolutely is a beauty to it.
I was laughing earlier because we all know in the facility, any area that could be improved efficiency-wise, Ira's going to find out, and he's going to tell you how to fix it. My favorite memory is we were at a trade show, my first trade show for Sow Good, and I was unpacking all of the snacks and putting them into the display, and they were 10 feet apart, and so I was picking them up and then carrying them over, and Ava goes, Lexi, I'm really channeling my inner Ira right now when I tell you, if you could just carry the box right next to the display and save 10 steps, why would you not do that? And I was like, my God, you're so right. And that was pure Ira coming out of you just now.
My way of teaching isn't quite as nice. It's a little sarcastic. So if somebody's walking 5 or 10 steps to get something, they're taking that walk 10 times, I just ask them, why don't they take that box and move it 50 feet further away? And they say, why would I do that? It's so much more work. I say, so why don't you move the box closer to you? Isn't that less work? It's yeah, I guess so. So the sarcasm has to come out, and that comes from being in New York. But the lessons are learned, and I really think the same people who I teach are teaching other people, and that's why we're so efficient and why we will compete with anybody in the world, because we are that efficient, and we do, next step, make the best products. And when you make the best products, it just comes natural that you're going to build quite a business. And we did that every business we ever built.
When there's an opportunity to build a family dynasty, most people jump on that opportunity. You know, all the groundwork's already there. G3, your dad had already made. There was a perfect opportunity for you to just work there, and you know, you never have to worry about finding another job for the rest of your life. Why did that not appeal to you? Why did you want to go out and start all of your own ventures?
The way you're putting that together, which is very true, most people are that way, would mean security is the number one thing, and to a lot of people it is. I was given the opportunity to do things on my own that could be great, and I didn't want to just go into something that was built already. I wanted to build something special and give other people the opportunity to work with me and build something special with that. And I chose to go that route. Everybody has a direction they want to take in life. And mine was to do something special, be an entrepreneur. I built 6 or 7 businesses that I sold to either public companies or private people or PE companies. And through the road of that, I learned quite a bit. And I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. And today we're building something even more special than the last companies we built. And it's an exciting road.
And I think that's a testament to the community you grew up in. Like, your dad came from nothing and built something. I think that rubbed off on you, even though you had an opportunity, and it would have been great if you had taken it. It was also great that you just decided to go out on your own and see, what can I make of myself? What can I build myself?
I agree with that to a large extent. The one thing I wish I could agree with, I didn't come from nothing. I had a lot when I started.
Yeah.
So it made it a little bit easier for me than other people. But the tenacity doesn't change. You've got to have it if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You just keep on going forward, and not every day is a good day. There are tough days. I can't tell you the road was perfect all the way through. We had some, I had some tough years through it. There were some losses in the middle of all the wins, but the losses just end up teaching you more. And I'm better for it as a person.
What were the lessons that you learned? What were some of the most important lessons you learned?
I'm going to
from
let her
companies?
say this question again in a minute, but I have to say something about Lexi.
Okay.
Lexi was always tenacious from a child. Then she went to school to a yeshiva in Philadelphia. Did very well there.
Bryn Mawr, PA.
In Bryn Mawr. And then she went to Georgetown. Took probably as tough or the toughest thing I can imagine ever taking. She took neurobiology. She gets a degree in neurobiology, and I don't even know if she knew what she wanted to do with that degree. And then she decided to work for an attorney for a law firm. And she did extremely well there. She had so many opportunities in front of her. But with during COVID, Claudia, that's my wife, her
My
mother,
mother.
and I were talking about building this company, Sow Good. And Lexi was teaching me things through this. A lot of stuff I didn't know about the millennials and how they view food and how they view nutrition and everything else. And as much as she's giving me credit, she could have had it pretty easy. She could have had a very safe life, making quite a living with her background and the offers she was getting. But she chose to be an entrepreneur because this is just as much hers as it is ours.
I don't know how that turned into me, but that was so nice.
Because you asked me a question about how is it that you can just do that?
Yeah.
And you did it too.
I mean, I guess that's the inspiration I got. It's kind
You
of a
learned
nice
something.
thought. Aaron, your dad's entrepreneurial spirit is carrying down the generations.
I believe it is too. And it's great that it does
Really
that.
special. And we'll continue getting more into it, but I feel like the lessons you learned from him are lessons I've learned from you, and that I try to carry into Sow Good.
What I think is really exciting is Lexi gets to learn from where I am today. So a lot of the mistakes I made, She won't make those, hopefully, because she sees it from here. And,
Yeah.
we've talked about them. She'll make her own and new ones, but it will be at a much higher level, which is really cool.
But getting back to the question, what are
I totally saved the question.
what were some of the most important lessons that you took away from the businesses that you've built?
I worked for a gentleman as a consultant. His name was Lyle Berman, and he taught me a great deal about merchandising. And it's not what I like, it's what our customer likes. And that was phenomenal. That really took me to the next level again. And then business was great, and hit a mild recession during that. And I didn't realize if you go forward, you have to like slow down during a recession. So I just kept on going full speed, and it taught me you got to look at what's going on in the world, look at the economy, look at everything else, and don't react very immediately to it, but look at it and make sure you do it properly. If you grow retail at the wrong time, guess what? You're going to get hurt by it. I did. And it made me think next time, if I was ever in that position, I would look at it a little differently. And never got hurt like that again in business because I did understand it.
I think that's a lesson people are learning now with COVID.
I think a lot of people learned a lesson in COVID. I think retail's very tough now, like it was then. And restaurants are very tough. And I think people are going to have to figure it out. And I don't know what figuring it out is. It's very tough right now when it comes to employees, taking care of your employees, keeping them around, giving them medical and everything else. That helps a great deal. But they got to be happy at the job. And I think that's going to change a little bit. People are going to look at how their employees are going to want to stay and figure out what to do to make it more like a family, like they want to stay there.
That's something that you are remarkable at. You and my mom are so good at building really good teams, and that's something that we're working on now. You're really good at spotting talent in people who start in lower positions on your team, say that they work in, packaging or something, and you're really good at saying, oh, that person is working extremely efficiently. That person is really good at X, Y, Z. Let me go talk to them, see what they want out of life, give them another interview, and see where they want to go and how we can help them.
And that's what we call opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, you got to be very careful when you give people opportunity. Used to say this in retail. If you make your best salesperson a manager and they really don't have managerial experience or talent, you can lose them because, one, they're going to turn unhappy, and now you've lost your best salesperson because you pushed them to be a manager. So today, we don't push anybody to do anything. We ask them, we give them the opportunity, we show them what the opportunity is going to look like, and we let them make their decisions. So learning goes for everybody, not just people that work for us, but all of us, whether it's Lexi, whether it's Claudia, whether it's myself, we're learning on a daily basis, and that's part of the continuous improvement.
Your dad did so much to help other people, and he didn't need to. You guys give so many people chances, and where I'm like, that's a little bit risky. You guys just go for it when you don't need to. And I think it's such a nice trait to see in a businessman, in an entrepreneur, to take that risk when you don't need to. But that's how you get very, very loyal employees who feel like family at this point.
It's we don't need to, but they might have needed it, and they're willing to show us that they need it. And I think that's where that loyalty comes from, and that hard work, and that will to push and make things better. And guess what? Maybe they'll pay it forward.
Yeah.
So that helps. Lexi's going to be doing that her whole life, so that everybody she does sort of makes Claudia and I feel much better, because it's 1, 2, 10, 20 more people that have been given that opportunity. And, Each time we give somebody the opportunity and it works out, there's nothing that feels better. That's the best success you could have. So it's really cool.
What does success look like to you? I feel like you've had a lot of versions of success in your life.
It changes through the years. Today, success looks much different than it did 10 years ago or 20 years ago to me. Today, it's to build a company that produces the absolute best quality, best product that's great for the environment, great for the people, and give opportunity to everybody. That's what success looks like to me. And when you see something running as close to perfection as you can get it, there's a beauty to that. That's my art. I don't draw, I don't play music, but that's art to me.
It is. And when you walk around a facility, especially with the previous company, massive, massive facility, and seeing it run, extremely smoothly and efficiently, that is art in itself.
It is, but this one's going to be a lot larger.
Yeah, it is. I've tangentially been related to the manufacturing world just from you guys.
Right.
But it's something that I've never seen every day. And it's something that I never really thought about whenever I bought my products, whether it's skincare, whether it's food or whatever it is, whether someone made the product themselves or not, and the vast difference in work it takes to make a product yourself, and it's like raising a child. It really is. It's every single day. I've seen you guys have to wake up in the middle of the night to go check on the freeze dryer or get calls from the employees checking on the freeze dryer. Manufacturing is a beast.
When you start a manufacturing, and especially in food, because food safety is involved, we were getting calls day and night for testing or whatever else to make sure it was perfect. Something was off a little bit. Either Claudia and myself would run in and make sure it would be okay. That was very important to us. Our freeze dryer is built for exactly what we want. So it's a proprietary freeze dryer that we put together that does fruit and vegetables better than any freeze dryer around. And the fact that we have one that's that good makes our product, again, the excellence we've been talking about. We just got an SQF audit, which would be like USDA.
Mother should come in just for that.
USDA on steroids. And we got a 98 out of 100. It's unheard of to get anything like that on your first test, on your first audit.
Yeah.
And I could tell you after the audit, we were trying to figure out how we do better on the next audit. And we wanted to, like I said, we're shooting for perfection.
Hi, Mommy. How do you feel about the 98 on the SQF audit?
We are amazing.
As soon as the auditor left, we were already walking the floor and calling in Zach or Nate and saying, oh, guys, can we fix this over here?
Correct.
It's nonstop. It's not just as soon as someone official comes and checks it out, that we go to a slovenly state of things. You improve even from there because we're going to get 100 on the next one. Building that team, understanding your weaknesses, shoring that up, getting other people to come in. I feel like you and my mom are also good at balancing each other out with weaknesses and
I was just going to mention that. That's where I was just thinking. So we were talking earlier about manufacturing and formalizing what we do, making it more specific. And Claudia does that for me, where I can see what needs to be done or whatever else, and she helps formalize a lot of that, which makes it easier for the next group that comes in. It's on paper, it's very understandable, and together there's, she does accounting and I'm doing buying and she's doing managing this and I'm managing that over there, and together
powerhouse.
It really does work out. And we don't specifically say, oh, you do this and, I do this and so on and so forth. But I just took credit for the QA. But really, that was all Claudia. She really put that together well and put a team together and has taught the people there. And that helped a great deal.
Something we haven't touched on is the fact that Sow Good is a public company. And I talked to Mommy about this on her episode. So you've never run a public company before.
No.
What was your fear?
I have somewhat of a big mouth coming from New York. I was a little bit nervous being a CEO of a public company, but as we went forward, Claudia and I spoke, and she has the ability to be the CEO of a public company where I do not. She is very articulate, and she has a much better filter than I do. So, being from New York and how I grew up, my filter's it's a little large, so you go right through it sometimes. And
Let's just say we had a swear jar growing up that filled up very quickly.
yeah, they did very well, the kids from that swear jar.
That was our side hustle.
So Claudia and I are true partners, and we decided what we should do and what positions we should have, and her being the CEO just made the most sense. So there's no ego involved when it comes to this. We just try to come up with what's best and how we could run the company the best way. And also, when we were talking about how we're going to build the company, we wanted to build a company where every single person had the opportunity to do well. So we decided we'd give up some of our stock options, so our employees, every single one of them, would have stock options.
Thank you.
And we want them to get their stock options every year going forward. We're hoping that will give them the opportunity to change their life. But not only that, by working real hard and doing, the continuous improvement, shooting for excellence, they reap their benefits. The stock's worth more if they do well. And I love giving them that opportunity. Again, that's what success feels like.
You've probably seen the landscape of business change so much in the last few decades that you've been starting and selling
Trying
businesses.
to tell me I'm old?
In the wisdom you have accumulated, true businessmen can make it through many generations. They can pivot, they can advance with the times. Some of them are just like, with the old ways, this is what we did, They don't know how to write emails. They don't, there's things that people didn't learn. I feel like you've kept up with the times. And especially with Sow Good, I'm sure it looked extremely different than the very first business that you've built.
There's one thing that never changed. When you make the best product,
Yeah.
it's still the best product. So if you keep up to that, you've won a good piece of the fight, the battle. But now we bring people aboard, my daughter here, who really does understand brand building. We understand how to build it, how to make it, how to make the best product. We know how to sell the product. But building the brand is a little different, and we're continually learning. So, yes, we can pivot. Yes, successful businessmen do learn, and they do grow, and they don't get stuck at this is the way we did it, so it's always going to be this way. Those are the companies that are just not there anymore, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I have 2 more questions now.
I got more questions. I thought it was over.
To someone to someone in their 20s, and a lot of people watching this will be around my age, what advice do you give them at the start of their careers? As you said earlier, success looked different to you at different stages. How do you keep a clear head, a clear sight on what's important, what values you want to maintain through your career, and the success that fits you?
When you're 20, you look at things, or 25 or 30, very differently than you do at my age. But what you do, if you do things the right way, and when you see a way to do it better, you also have the opportunity of helping people on the way. I know that's hard because you have a tough day, you want to make more money, or you're looking to keep on striving forward, and you should do all those things. But you also should look at the end of the day, what did today look like? And I do that every single night. How could have I lived today a little bit better? What could have I done that was a little bit better than yesterday? The truth is, if you do that, I don't know what business you're in, but whatever business you're in, the first step is doing it the best possible way and saying, you know what, there's still a better way. Because there always is. You can't just expect that you'll get it right the first time, the second, or the third time.
in your previous businesses, you guys have worked very hard, very long hours. I think you guys have come to learn over time the importance of putting all that you can into work, but also in your family, also in your friends. I love coming home and seeing that you guys have friends over, or I love that, you guys are out doing things on the weekends. It's nice seeing you guys have such a strong balance of you're giving 110% to your company, to your employees, to each other, and to your family and loved ones.
Thank you. It's really interesting. We're very lucky, not only Claudia and I working together, but we have the girls working with us. And we get to go home and meet our friends for dinner and so on and so forth. It's really nice. We really have built quite a life. And building a life, there's no substitute for that. If you're only working, you're going to feel the miss. You're going to feel, what are you doing it for? So you've got to have a balance there. I can't tell you I've always had the balance, but I can tell you now we do. And that's part of my learning and what has changed in my life.
Yeah. What are words of wisdom that you would give to viewers on actions that they can take now to sow seeds of positive change in themselves, their communities, their environment? What parting words are you going to give the audience?
I think it's the same thing I've been saying throughout. If you're going to do something, do it the absolute best you possibly can. And when you learn what's your best, look at it harder. You'll find a way to do it even better. Success will come to you. Whichever way you look at success, it will hit you because you're the best of who you can be. Well, goodbye.
Okay. No, wait. We have to close off.
Oh, wait, I have to close off. I can't just...
Okay.
Not, what's it called?
You can't just walk away. We're done. Thank you so much for coming on. It has been such a pleasure. I love being able to share your story with other people. You've been an inspiration to me, to a lot of other people at work and outside of work. So I'm excited to continue growing. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you. By the way, Lexi inspires me too. So as much as I inspire her, she really does have the right mentality here. So
all gained from good influences. Thank you.
Thank you.